Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a relationship coach for gay men, helping them find, create, keep, enhance long-lasting, loving relationships with other gay men. So this week on the podcast, I wanted to talk about something that people often ask me about. I get a lot of DMs from you guys about wondering about how do you know if someone is actually into you or if they're just being nice, etc. You know, of course, as gay men, we meet gay people around and, you might find them attractive here or there, or you're just not sure about things. You've gone on a date, they're being nice, etc. How do you read the signs between someone who's just being friendly and someone who's really into you? Of course, it's sometimes, maybe it's also impossible for you to figure out whether this person likes you back or not. We all know the story. You've been on a date or two and those, butterflies be beating apart, in your stomach. And then you think that he likes you, but, then it's like, what if he doesn't? What if he's just being nice? What if he's leading me on? What if he's telling me what I want to hear, right? Well, before you lose your mind, let's take a breath. I'm here to help. And I'm going to share some signs that you can be aware of to notice if someone's actually into you, and whether or not they're just actually stringing you along or just, friend zoning you as well. So let's jump in and share about some of these things as well. So number one, the guy is texting you without needing a prompt. Now, this is a big one. If you're always the one starting a conversation, it's really going to be hard for you to tell ever what's on this person's mind. But if you find that this person is texting you first, it means he's thinking of you and that he's initiating the communication. That is a good sign. So this is a good way for you to figure it out as well. Another sign is the person's, adding some energy to the messages. So maybe they're using emojis in the messages. Now, this may seem silly, but, in this day and age, emojis are a part of our digital vocabulary. Some guys just aren't emoji users, right? That's clear. So you'll have to get to know the person's style a bit. But if you're, always throwing a wink, a heart, or a kissy face that person's way, with not even a smiley in return, it could mean that this person's just really not that into you, right? So just be aware, like if you're putting off a little subtle hint and you're not getting anything back, it's probably, a sign that he's probably just not into you, right? Another sign, a good sign here is that the guy is going to call you instead of text, right? I know you're probably thinking, what, a phone call? My phone hasn't rung since 1977. Well, we can actually, talk on these things that we have in our hand called smartphones. And so if a guy forgoes the text and goes right for the phone call, that really definitely means that he's down to get to know you more, right? He's confident. He's ready to have a chat and see, what you're all about. So don't be afraid of picking up the phone call. It's a sign that he's wanting to connect more as well. Another sign, this one's important, is that he's making plans for the next date. If you're not into someone, what happens usually? You either do the right thing and tell them, or you ghost them, hoping that they'll forget about you. But if a guy is eager to spend time with you, he will make sure you have plans to hang out. If he's the one setting up the next date, you can bet that he's into you. So if he's making plans, it's clear, he's keen, right? Another sign, he asks questions. When you're just being polite, you usually let the other person talk, adding in a few ahas and yes to really show them that you're sort of paying attention, right? But if your date is engaged into the conversation, asking you lots of questions to get more information, curiosity, etc., wanting to know you more, this is really a good sign. So be aware if someone's asking you questions, they're keen on getting to know who you are as well, right? A good sign, though, if someone is interested in you, is that he invites you over to his home, his place where he lives. If someone's being just polite and doesn't see things going further, to be honest, he's definitely not going to let you know where he lives, unless it's just a hookup, right? A booty call, and he's hosting, right? If you get the invite, though, when you've been on dates and etc., it's a thumbs up for sure that he's down to spend more time with you in his own environment as well. Another one, though, on top of this, is a bigger sign is that if you've done some fun stuff or whatever, you've gone over there, whatever happens, or you've just been hanging out, and he invites you to stay the night. This is, obviously part 2 of that previous sign that we're talking about. So you've made it to the person's place, which is obviously a good sign. You might watch a movie or have dinner or maybe do a bit of, hanky-panky. Then, instead of you leaving, getting an Uber, whatever, he might ask you to stay over the night. If he does, he's into you. He wants to spend time with you, maybe cuddling, and maybe wants to wake up in the morning and know that you're there. So that's a good sign to say that he is into you more than just, a booty call, right? If you're getting texts, if the person's talking to you during the day, right? You've left after a night out, you've stayed over or whatever, and you start getting texts from the person, messaging throughout the day, it's a good sign that you're into you, right? If you're only getting, hey, you up at, 2 a.m, he really might have only one thing on his mind, right? But if you're getting those messages during the day, like saying hi, asking how your day is, sharing something funny, or exciting or a celebration, etc., all signs point to something more than a booty call. So be aware of that as well, right? A good sign, though, really good sign, though, is if he is introducing you to his friends. He's bringing, someone that he's dating to meet friends. It's not a small gesture, as we know, right? If he was just being polite, there's no way he'd open up to you like that, right? So getting involved and meeting people that he's close with means that he's into you more than just a hookup or just a date. It means there's a little bit more investment, and he wants to get a bit of approval from friends, but also, wants to see how you interact with them, all those kinds of things. So it's a good test. So if you're getting invited to go with friends, it's a good sign. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. All right? Another good sign is that, you might be going on a few dates, right? And we all know that a first boring date might be dinner and a movie. Like, it's the old age standard date. But if you are going on dates that are more than just this, then this is some good chance that, that he's really into you, right? So, it might be that, like I said, you might have done the dinner and the movie, but then he's asking you to go to a concert, or he's asking you to go to a night out, or he's asking you to go to a play, other things, right? It's probably more likely that they're into you and they want to do things that they like with you instead of just the standard dinner and a movie, right? Things like that, right? So it's likely that signs of what kind of dates and the effort that they put into the dates mean that they're more into you because they're wanting to impress you or to show you more about their world, right? That's something to take note of as well. So be aware of what kind of dates you're going on as well. Another sign is he starts sharing more intimate or maybe something more embarrassing about himself, right? Maybe it's a childhood story, or it could be a nervous tick, whatever it may be, letting the guards down and kind of revealing something embarrassing or intimate. It's not something you just tell anybody, right? There's a level of vulnerability that comes with it. So if he's opening up to you, he's probably into you, right? He feels comfortable to share that with you. So that means there's some walls coming down and he shares some silly secrets or intimate details with you about something, right? That's a good sign. If you're having a conversation and, he's being honest about wanting to see other people or not, some people may call it, having that conversation, right? If the person's willing to talk about the status of your relationship, right, whatever it is, that usually means he sees it continuing in some form. Maybe he's into you but prefers open relationship. Maybe he's into you and doesn't want to see other people. Either way, if he's sharing his feelings, it means you're more important to him. So take note of that, right? Don't be afraid of what is said, but like, be aware, like if this conversation is happening, there's potential to move forward, right? In some way or another. Another sign is he might bring you a gift, buy you something, right? It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be expensive. You know, it's not the only way people show affection these days through material things, but, you know, if someone's buying you flowers or a ticket to a show or, you know, picks up the tab at dinner, it really means that they don't mind spending some of their money as well as the time on you. Like, that's a nice way to say that they're into you, right? Unless they're super rich and they're throwing the money around. But, like, the general population ain't in that category, right? So we've got to be clear that, like, if people are willing to spend their hard-earned money on you in certain ways, there's a good chance that they're showing interest in you, right? They have no problem with that, right? Next sign is that, you know, maybe he's going away for the weekend. Maybe he's going on a short trip somewhere and he invites you away on a trip. This is the ding, ding, ding moment, right? Now, we all know that no sane person would invite someone that they weren't into on a trip away because that's a lot of time together, right? It means that you're together for those long periods of time, sharing hotels, car rides, adventures, right? If a trip is in your future, you can bet that they really, really like you. So be aware, like if you're getting invited away, good sign that someone's not stringing you along, that they actually are keen to really spend some quality time with you for a few days and do something fun together, right? A big sign, a big sign though, is this, you know, we've talked about introducing to friends. Next time, maybe he's told his family about you. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to meet the family yet, but if he tells a sibling or a cousin or a parent or anybody else who shares, you know, that kind of relation to him about you, he may actually be into you, right? And of course, an extra bonus side on top of that is if he does want you to meet the fam. That's, you know, a serious step, a serious relationship. So they're being for real. So if you're getting the invite or the talk about how he's shared, you know, he's told his family about you, good sign is that means you're important to them, right? So take note of these things as well. I know this one might sound silly because, you know, this day and age, you know, social media is, you know, all, you know, people can share every little bit of their details from going to the toilet, right? But if someone's posting about you on social media, sharing stuff, right, like photos, you know, or whatever it is, you know, of course they don't necessarily need to tell the world, you know, that you two belong to each other. But if you've taken a picture or two together that you see pop up on that person's feed, maybe accompanied with, you know, some cute captions, some emojis, whatever. This might be a good subtle way of them letting everyone around them know that they've got interest in you as well. So be clear that like a good photo shared means a lot as well these day and age in social media, right? Another thing might be like, he might be trying to suss you out. He might be curious if you're talking to anybody else, right? You know, he might be told you about whether or not he wants to see other people, right? We talked about that today. Before the person initiates that conversation, he may also just be becoming curious about your dating life as a whole. Maybe, you know, there's some questions, you know, and wants to find out, you know, how serious you are. So if he's starting to get curious or ask questions, it's because he wants to know where you guys stand together about maybe taking the next step in your relationship. So if someone's getting curious about things, take that as a good sign that, you know, this person's seeing you more of a future in them as well. Now, another final one that I might talk about is a good one is that you go out for dinner, you're used to going out for dinners, etc. But, you know, you've been invited to the house and he decides to cook a nice dinner for you. Now, if he's pulling out the pots and the pans and whips something up for a meal together, this person's a keeper, right? Doesn't have to be a huge gourmet meal, but if it is, then extra 10 points on top of that, right? But any time or effort spent, especially in something like the kitchen, making sure that you're fed is a sign of affection, is a sign that they're actually interested. So if you're getting any of these signs, you know, and like I said, you want to be aware, are you in the friend zone? Like how interested he is in you? Like take some of these signs as a clear indication that there's a future together, that maybe this is something that, you know, if you're feeling similar things or you are, you know, like I said, becoming infatuated, feel free, confident to maybe bring up the conversation with them, because, if you want clarity, the best way is just to ask. And so, like, if you're getting some signs and you're feeling signs, like, don't, try to be that little high school thing and beat around the bush and, try to throw out some subtle things, maybe be a bit more direct. Directness will get you so many places in life. So I trust that these have been valuable. I'd love to hear your thoughts, some of your stories about what's going on. And I know you always have questions, so feel free to reach out to me on socials. I love hearing from you guys. And other than that, I'm going to be back next week with a brand new episode of the Total Boss Podcast. So until then, always remember you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now.